we got 3 more minutes.
Yep, 3 more minutes.
Well, maybe good if you haven't had a chance. Have they got this yet?
It's in front of everybody.
Okay.
Just right here.
Yeah, if you guys want to read that. Got 3 minutes. That'll help your work session go a little quicker.
Pass that down that way.
Good, thanks. This is her. Stuffed peppers. That's ambitious. Oh.
It should be good, but I've never made it before, so. It just sounded like cream cheese. Chopped cream cheese. Yes.
Not sure yet.
Disconnected the card pose. It's going to freeze tonight.
Anybody else gonna go to this?
Pass it down that way, because I'm not sure you.
Did that go all the way down? Oh,
Is it going this way?
I think they already got it.
Great. It's 6 o'clock. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And everyone remember to turn your microphones on and to turn your cell phones off. And we'll have roll call.
Mayor Schoenberger,
Here.
Counselor Anderson. Here. Counselor Becker,
Here.
Counselor Dykes. Here. Counselor Quinlan. Here. Counselor Smith,
Here.
Counselor Bain.
Here.
Everyone has a copy of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 26th and copy of the minutes of the special meeting of October 29th. Are there any corrections? Hearing none, they both stand approved as submitted. Moving on to management, ordinance number 837-15.
The staff is asking for council to approve on first reading.
Second reading, I think, isn't it? Or is it?
It doesn't
I
show.
think,
It should be the first.
I think it's
but-
first reading.
Okay.
Would you like me to address that in a little more detail?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
We need the title read, we need all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, unless Deanna, you wanted to do that.
Sure.
Okay.
Ordinance number 837-15, an ordinance authorizing alcoholic beverage tastings pursuant to CRS and declaring an emergency.
Somebody like to introduce the ordinance? A council like to introduce the ordinance? We'll have a second.
I'll introduce ordinance number 837-15, an ordinance authorizing alcoholic beverage tasting pursuant to CRS 1247-301, parentheses 10, and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Second? All right. Is there Any discussion?
Mayor, could we have Karen just give a quick update
Yep.
just for the public, just so they can understand it a little bit?
Andrea, our city clerk, brought this to your attention at a work session recently, and this is in response to a request from some local liquor sales establishments here in town that they would like to be able to do tastings as a part of their businesses. And that's something that happens on a very infrequent basis, and in your ordinance you have a very clear definition of tastings, that a license or a permit is required for these establishments to conduct such an event. There is no fee proposed for doing that. And then because these businesses would like to be able to do this in time for the holiday season, we're asking that this be adopted with an emergency provision, which would allow this to go into effect here in about 2 to 3 weeks. I don't have an exact time frame in front of me. And part of the reason you're able to actually entertain and look at this type of an ordinance is due to some recent changes at the state level that's enabled this to come to light. So, any questions?
Now, any further discussion? All right. Because I remember earlier we were concerned that they could do it every day and those kind of things, and they cannot. It's a special setup and so many times a year type of thing. So, we're ready for a roll call vote.
Counselor Bain,
Yes.
Counselor Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan,
Yes.
Counselor Dykes,
Yes.
Counselor Becker,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Schoenberger.
Yes. Moving on to number B, the grant application for the fire department building.
Okay, City of Brush is continuing to move forward with the fire department in regards to the grant application through DOLA, Department of Local Affairs, and realizing that there's still some negotiations that we're hoping for with the rural board. We need to get this approved by council to apply. We also have a resolution that's going to be coming up in the future too that'll give more details to the grant application. But this meeting, we just need an approval by council to move forward with applying for the DOLA grant for the fire department building project. We don't have the actual dollar figures yet. In the resolution, we're going to have more of that information. This is just so that we have it documented that the council approved us to move forward with the project.
Is there a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we apply for a grant for the fire department building.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Counselor Becker,
Yes.
Counselor Dykes,
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan,
Yes.
Counselor Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Bain,
Yes.
Mayor Schoenberger.
Yes. Moving on to finance.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve disbursements and payroll from October 26th through November 9th, totaling $251,571.
Second.
Second. Motion and second. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Counselor Smith,
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan,
Yes.
Counselor Dykes,
Yes.
Counselor Becker,
Yes.
Counselor Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Schoenberger,
Yes.
and Counselor Bain.
Yes.
Moving on to staff reports. Karen, do you have any staff report? Community development? Jan? Oh, okay. All right. No,
No, we
that's
didn't.
okay. Okay. Fire department, Ray.
So just a couple items tonight. We were notified when we were at the Chiefs Conference in Keystone that Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control will be offering a grant. I believe they're going to open it sometime in December for 2016. And we're looking at, I know just recently, a few years ago, we purchased new air packs to bring us up a standard to the 2007 standard. We're still behind the standard, the 2013 standard. And so they're offering a grant. I think they have $3 million to award. And last year when they did it, they scored everybody in one group. So volunteers were scored against career and combinations were to school. So this year they're breaking it down. Volunteer departments are gonna be scored against volunteer departments, combination departments against combinations, and career against career. They're setting a cap on it because they had so much asked for last year that they just weren't able to, so they're putting a cap on the dollar amount that they will award per project at $100,000. And so we're gonna go after the air packs to try to get us up to the new standard at $100,000. So just wanted to bring it to your attention that that's something that we would like to apply for. I know it's gotta come out of the fire equipment fund, and there's a lot of things looking that are gonna have to come out of that fire equipment fund. It will be a 50-50 match, but half of that 50% match will come from the rule board since they have to take care of half of the packs. So that's one item to consider that we'd like to apply for to save taxpayers money like we did with the AFG grant.
Ray, do you have ideas of the dollar figures of how much an air pack costs, the number of air packs that need to be replaced?
So what NFPA requires is that you have one air pack per seat in the fire truck, and I think right now, believe we have 29. So we'd be looking at 29 air packs, plus 29 extra bottles. It depends on the manufacturer. They can go anywhere from $3,500 to almost $7,000 a pack. But the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control went out to just 2 manufacturers, the top 2 manufacturers worldwide for SCBAs, and said, give us a bid. And so then they're gonna determine how much they will pay per pack. And so then you have to design your pack or get bids within that dollar amount. So we're guessing it's gonna be roughly around $4,000, $4,500 per pack is what they're probably gonna fund. So, and they'll only fund, like I said, up to $100,000. So that's all we would apply for is what we could get for $100,000.
If you get a chance, Ray, if it's possible for tomorrow, one of the capital project summary sheets, even if you just have just basic information, don't have the exact numbers yet, just so we can plug that in, because a lot of times those grants, they want to know that it's already been approved. And just by having it in here helps us be able to say that it was approved on a certain date. So you already have that from council, so we're not doing a special meeting to approve it. That would help out Joanne quite a bit.
Okay, when do you need that by?
As soon as tomorrow if you could.
Tomorrow, okay.
Yeah, even if you give the basic description of what it is, number of packs,
Okay,
$4,500 a pack, just so you have something.
okay.
Cost share with the rule, 50% grant by that program. It would help out a lot.
Okay. The second deal tonight is we have the scope of service prepared for the building project that's gonna have to go out for the bids.
For the estimates.
For the estimates. So we have that prepared. I have copies here for everybody, so I'll hand those out.
Can I ask you, Ray, one question about the air packs?
Thank you.
On the condition of the air packs that the fire department has now, is there some that are this old, some, did they replace them over periods of time, or what age are the air packs now?
So we just replaced all of our air packs. I don't remember, was it 3 or 4 years ago?
3, I think.
3 years up to the 2007 standard, but
Right.
they weren't brand new packs. They were refurbished
Oh, okay.
packs that
Okay.
we purchased.
Okay. What does the new standard get you in an air pack as far as the difference between what we're using now?
It's all based on safety features. So now the low air alarm won't come on until you have 10% of your bottle left. Well, now the new standard is it comes on when it's at 30%. Because what they've found out over line of duty deaths is a lot of people aren't paying attention to how much air they have until their low air alarm goes off. Well, then they're so far in the building, and if a collapse happens or they get tangled up, they run out of air.
Okay.
So when that now the standard is when the air alarm goes off,
You get out.
they still have 30% of their bottle left to get out.
Okay.
A lot of manufacturers were making different alarm sounds for their low air alarm and just doing different things, so they just standardize everything. I mean, everybody's low air alarm has to be the same, everybody's electronics, you know, a lot of them now, you have to have a Brady breather system where if my partner runs out of air, I can plug into his bottle
Right.
and it equals out, takes air from my bottle and puts into his bottle and it equals it out. So that's there, and it used to be one manufacturer would design their own to where if we mutual aid with somebody and they had a different pack than ours, our system wouldn't work with theirs and theirs wouldn't work with ours. So they standardized everything. So it's all safety features with the new updates. And that's where, so that's the biggest difference between what we have now to what the new standard is.
If you got the new air packs, what would we do with what we have now? Is there any,
You would get a trade-in on them?
you do get trade-in? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So with that scope of work, it's just a basic, you know, what size of building we're looking for, some tenant finish, type stuff in there, just kind of basic information that the bidders would need to put together their bid package for us. It's been recommended through discussions with TAD that we try to set up a pre-bid meeting so that the companies can come down and ask questions. And if we're gonna get the bid in before December 1, so we have a price to put into the grant, that needs to happen ASAP, maybe Friday or Monday. Get that set up and out.
Right, so that council understands, with Department of Local Affairs, what had been requested for us to get a better estimate, that we go out to bid for the estimates and at least try and get 3 different companies who construct pre-engineered buildings. And that would meet the requirements of DOLA. So that's why we don't have the application in front of you today, because we still need these pieces of it, this information together. So I'd say probably next couple days we can probably just give it the thumbs up. So I think Tad had a few ideas of where to send it to for which companies had the pre-engineered buildings, and then like you said, that walkthrough with the contractors or those that build those buildings makes it so they can get a better estimate for us. Very good.
And then with that, with them being able to have the scope of work and having that pre-bid meeting, then if we can have that, you know, set up either Friday or Monday, whatever we can get set up as soon as possible, then we could turn around and have the bids due November 30th, which I think all we're gonna do, correct me if I'm wrong, is just take the DOLA recommended taking the highest bid to apply for, to put into the DOLA grant. So
I think Tad has a timeline that he wrote down that he's trying to follow. So let's make sure we get with Tad and find out the date that this has to go out, because he was giving so many days so that we'd have time for Andrea to put in the last bit of information, but not
Right.
like the day before, but a few days, that week prior. Just so we had any last questions that come up, we can get those addressed.
Okay, so that's the scope of work there, and then the other one was, I know Tad at the last meeting that was held talked about lease purchase options of the building ladder truck and engine. We've got one option back from one company, and we'll be getting a second one back here next week. So I have a copy for everybody here of that, just to, in case DOLA doesn't pan out. There's another option here to look at.
There you go.
So with that lease purchase, you can see the 3 different options there, and we had them break it down into 5, 10, 15, and 20-year outlays, so you can see what the payments would be broken down into. And so if there's any questions on the options, I'd be more than answer them if anybody has any questions.
Just so council understands that if we put in for the application, or I guess when we put in for the application, it'll take a few months before we get notified, yes or no. So at that point in time is when you guys will want to look at different options for these type of things. But grants are important because if you can get 50% of it paid for, that's much better than trying to do lease purchases, which you have to pay interest on, and you're paying 100% plus interest. So that gets a lot more expensive.
And then go to the rule board meeting on Wednesday night where we're going to try to get a definite answer from the rule board on, are you in or you're out?
Okay, I'll give part of my report since it's part of this, is the mayor did send out a letter, and the letter went to the rule board a little over a week ago, and essentially letting them know that we're still open. We really want to try and get this to work, this partnership, for the building, and potentially for some future purchases as well. And so we haven't heard back yet, but I believe the fire chief was going to ask the question if I should be at the meeting or not. And so if you have any insight on that, let me know. Because if we're going to keep moving forward, we need to be discussing the options, or it's going to be letters back and forth, and we need to get a little traction going. So if there's any insight on that, let me know. And I am available. I think that's Veterans Day, Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Wednesday. But I will be in town, and I will be available if they want me to be at that meeting.
Okay,
For
I
any other
will.
details.
I'll get a hold of Tad tomorrow and see if he
Able to do
talked to
that?
Roger or
Okay.
any of them. So
Okay, very good.
and then one last thing, Tad and Joanne did sit down and put together a letter to go out to all the energy companies within the district to go out. So that letter is completed and ready to go out, I believe.
Okay. One of the things that Tad and Joanne and I discussed was that the letter, it's great just to send a letter, but if there's any possibilities of some of the volunteers maybe hand delivering letters to those few entities out there, sometimes personal interaction, means a little bit more. Sometimes if it's just a letter in the mail, it gets put down. So if there's any contacts that you may have, or if the city staff, if we have some contacts, we can also, I visited one, and they said there's a potential for some assistance. But if there's a list that we have, we can start figuring out how to better promote this and maybe get some donations for the project.
So other than that, that's all that I have, unless anybody has any questions.
I had just on the lease thing on the new station, the figure you have down there is 1.2 million. Last time I had heard, I thought the figure was like 850,000.
It was 850,000, and then through the course of discussions, it was discussed, well, if we're gonna go after it, why don't we go after it to complete everything that we'd be looking at, which would be adding a second floor with bunk rooms, training rooms, a day room, trustees room, putting a room in for bunker gear and things of that nature to complete the station how we would like to see it done. And so that's where the $1.2 million figure came in.
Okay.
When we sat down and we're talking with different contractors and stuff and kind of throwing it around, that's kind of the ballpark number that they came out with was 1.2 million.
Now, this is a good interest rate on it too, but I was wondering, is there a difference in lease purchase versus just a mortgage? Because it's a building, it's a.
Yeah, the big difference is Tabor.
Yeah. Oh, there is? Oh, okay.
To do a mortgage, you need a vote, because it's a debt
All right.
beyond one fiscal year. Lease purchase has an annual appropriation clause in it. Meaning
All
that,
right.
you can back out of it at any time, but.
Okay. Yep, all right.
But that's the difference. Lease purchase is outside of the table restrictions. Standard note deed of trust is a multi-fiscal year, what do they call it, a financial obligation, some phrase like that.
All right. Okay.
And then, just so everybody knows, Tad was cleared to go back to light duty. So
Oh,
he's
good.
out Monday through Thursday, back on light duty for the next 2 weeks, I believe, and then we'll see what happens from there. But he'll be out of town Monday through Thursday, so if you try to get a hold of him, that's where he's at.
All right. Well, thank you. That was a big, long report. Thanks. Moving on, City Clerk, Dee.
Okay, the election results. Counselor Ward number 1, Marlene Baker. Counselor Ward number 2, Vicky Quinlan. Counselor Ward number 3 is Heath Becker. And the Proposition BB statutory is yes, 3,513 for, 1,729 against.
Okay.
And then, tomorrow night at 6 p.m. is the budget retreat. City offices will be closed on Wednesday, November 11th. There is a brush chamber luncheon at noon that day. On the 16th at 5:30, a joint work session with Planning Commission, floodplain regulation update. November 23rd at 10:30, stakeholders meeting, Chamber of Commerce, 6 o'clock, City Council regular meeting. 26th through the 27th, city offices closed. On the 30th at 5:30, joint public hearing with Planning Commission.
I have in
Thank
my
you.
notes 5:30 for the budget retreat tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
5:30.
it will be 5:30.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Is that it? Thank you. Moving on to City Administrator.
Okay, we talked about fire department enough. I wanted to talk a little bit about the budget for tomorrow night in the retreat. It is 5:30, so, and it is potluck, so the sign-up sheet went around already. You can get that back to D when you're complete with that. The budget, remember, is 225 pages. We don't go through all 225 pages. There are some portions of it that you have heard as we went through the process. So we've all been through it once, twice, maybe up to 8-10 times. So not a whole lot that's new, but one thing that I wanted to do was give a little bit of a homework assignment and ask council to pay a little more attention to the following pages. And this is because these are the ones that typically have a little more discussion, and also some of the graphs may be a little smaller print, and so it's kind of hard to see those up on the PowerPoint sometimes. So if you have any questions, email those to us beforehand anytime tomorrow. That way we have those questions up front, we can answer those, and it makes the meeting go through a little bit faster. So the first page is page 1 to review. Next is page 5. This is additional review. Review it all, but this is additional review. So page 5, page 8 and 9, page 30. Page 30 is your council priorities, and I'll touch on those a little bit, but I think most council members will remember those. And then page 136, page 219, that is the donation request. That's one that sometimes brings up some conversation. There's not a whole lot of changes from years past, but we will touch on that tomorrow night. And then some of our capital outlay projects, those are on pages 221 through 225.